universe is the universe of information. It contains information. That's how it transforms itself through the information process. And so to ignore this probability is ignoring a great deal of the potential of this whole universe and our capacity to co-create with it.
Yeah. That's what it comes to co-create life.
Yeah, that's...
What else to do here?
That's what frees us. This is the truth that sets us free. We co-create life beginning with our own life. With every breath, we're creating our own life. And we're sharing in that process. So we're literally creating our share of the universe by breathing, as well as creating co-creating our actual life.
Yeah.
So we can create life through creating our own life with our breath and our consciousness, our creative imagination, the ability to create new images and forms and manifest those instead of the old ones that we've been stuck in and programmed with for at least the last 5,000 years that have kept us in war and slavery and artificial economic systems and all the anxiety and neurosis and feelings of separation and isolation and splitting apart and disintegration that go with that, so that fear becomes the overriding reality. Therefore, God is fear. Well, the God of fear is a false God, and the God of fear must go somewhere else, another universe. Because the God I experience as really being God is a God of truth and freedom. So there's no room, no space in that universe for fear. Because as soon as fear comes in that area where truth and love and freedom are, it begins to dissolve and melt and flush away and become love, truth, and freedom. Because in truth, that's all that God could possibly be, is universal love, universal truth, universal freedom, and the sublime joy that we are graced with when we experience and realize this.
Sometimes it feels the word I,
See?
don't even breathe itself, it's just being breathed. That this me, this I, is just being breathed from the thrive of life. Like there's this thrive of life journey into my lungs and cells to experience itself through my cells. And in all that process there is this human consciousness taking place.
Yes, and consciousness that we are involved with that creative process.
Yes.
We live in an ocean of atmosphere.
Yeah.
We live in an ocean of air, and there's so much density in that ocean of air weighing down on us. In American terms, it's 14.5 pounds per square inch of our body.
It's like a fish in the water.
Exactly.
It's the same H2O.
Exactly.
In oxygen too.
Yes. Oxygen and hydrogen
Yeah.
blended together to create water instead of atmosphere. It's just a different relationship with each other and different protons and molecular relationships that create either atmosphere or water. So fish are breathing water and we're breathing air. I mean, we're breathing water also, and the fish are breathing air.
Immense thirst comes from breathing water of love.
Rumi?
Spirkom. And at the end of one of his poems.
Beautiful. Say it again, Michael.
Immense thirst comes from breathing water of love.
Beautiful. Yes.
I can read you the whole poem once.
Okay. So you see, in other words, this is all information that basically supports what you're saying about sometimes you feel it breathes you.
Mm-hmm.
In essence, it does breathe us. All that pressure, we actually breathe to hold it away from us. Otherwise, we'd collapse.
Yeah, or we explode.
Yeah. Well, we'd implode.
Yeah.
we'd implode 14.5 pounds per square inch pushing in on us. We got to have a corresponding pressure on the inside of us pushing outward to keep an equilibrium.
The pulsating
Yep.
of life.
Yep, with every breath. Whether it's fish breathing water or us breathing atmospheric water, it's still the same process and the same elements going in there, plus inside of all that is prana and chi, the living spirit itself.
And this is happening in all organic life. Human have the potentials to be conscious in that process.
To be conscious of the process and to be participants in it and co-create with it.
Yeah.
That's that dimension of humanness that we've been given that is God conscious, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yes, that's the joy of being human and letting the atmosphere breathe us. Because I agree with my friend in Oregon, our true identity is our next breath and the one in our body now. It contains the living spirit of life, the breath. It's whatever God is, the creative spirit of whatever truth is. That's in the breath.
So the id is, identity comes from the energy id, the wrath, the thrive of life.
Yeah, it's that raw energy that is the creative fuel, fire, and engine of the universe.
Id entity. The entity of the id.
That's a Freudian term. Freud split consciousness into id, ego, and superego, and the id is that unconscious, driving, creative, wrath, spiritual fire, big bang desire and need for the whole energy of the universe to constantly recreate itself and reproduce itself, fucking and creating babies of all kinds. And when we experience this and realize that we're part of this huge universal process and that we're conscious of it, we can dance with it now. We can create our own music. We can blend our rhythm to this greater rhythm and create a harmonic rhythmic pattern which feeds us, and we feed it with every breath, with every heartbeat, with every thought, word, action. We transform as we go. So there's no need for money. There's no need for extra energy. We've been given more energy, more power than we could ever imagine at the moment we're conceived and born.
It's there in abundance already.
It's the way this universe works. It produces far more than it needs. It produces excesses of everything. This universe overflows with abundance. Only the human mind, through fear, separates itself from that abundance and starts to create a belief system that there's a huge scarcity and that we have to survive personally. And me, number one, ego, comes first and foremost. And then everybody else is going to have to fight for themselves and going to have to fight me to get what I got.
By observing plants, we can watch and learn to see how the abundance works in all living.
If someone wants to truly understand the way the universe works, simply create a little garden patch for yourself and plant a seed.
Yeah.
Plant one seed of corn, for example, and watch how many seeds come back in your harvest.
Yes.
This universe works in that way. It gives back to us in abundance and in multiples of what we give it.
Yeah.
So if I want to receive love and joy from the universe, it's my responsibility to plant love and joy in the fertile matrix of the universe. And to have faith and be patient and wait that this process does work.
Yeah.
And eventually harvest returns to me in abundance of what I gave it. So there really is abundance. There's no need for profit when you realize that there's abundance. And the law of abundance is share the abundance. So we can learn to live this way or remember how to live this way, which is all it really is, because that's the way it was before money and before slavery, before wars and competition for power and resources. Then heaven comes to earth. We start to live and remember what paradise truly is, and Adam and Eve go back into the garden in full consciousness this time. of the responsibility of taking really good care of the garden.
Yeah.
Are you recording this?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I had a question for this morning.
Yeah.
About harmony, integration, self-liberation.
Yeah.
Or just liberation.
Yeah.
And to ask you what you see when you breathe out those words.
Okay. That's your question?
Yeah.
What do I see what do I visualize when I'm invoking those principles?
Yes.
Well, what I've discovered is they're not words, they're principles. And because I'm an American and use English, there are concepts and words that are attached as labels to those principles.
Yeah.
But it's the experience of the principle itself
Yes.
that creates the words and the reality and the behavior. So I began with harmony, Michael. When I woke up in 72 and I saw the lie, and I saw that what I'd been doing for 30 years was feeding that lie, I said, well, then what's the alternative? And I started looking for something greater than myself, a principle that was real for me, that I could work with, that could help transform my life from the lie that I had been living to a greater truth that I would imagine that I could live.
So kind of a vision quest in the work of transformation.
No question about it. There must be an image, a vision, a psychic blueprint, a spiritual roadmap. There's got to be something that comes down from higher self, like the carrot in front of the donkey, that gives you the motivation and the direction of how to move with your life. Otherwise, you live in chaos and confusion and frustration and existential hell. However, since the universe has a strong tendency to work toward harmony constantly, we can plug into this reality of the universe.
Wait. To say work towards harmony constantly, in my observation of how nature works, it works towards equilibrium constancy.
That's what harmony is.
Thank you. I just want to see a confirmation.
Harmony is dynamic equilibrium, not static equilibrium. Harmony moves back and forth across the center in approximately 55-45% proportions.
Yes, but because before it can balance itself, it has to change itself. And that's the resistance into life about changing, rebalancing, and that's the actually dance you're talking about.
Yes, and even before that, it must separate itself.
Yeah.
It must split itself apart before it can do any of that. So there's this whole process that probably the universe goes through, and that since we're made in the image of the creator of the universe, we probably have to go through too, where we begin in union, unified consciousness, so to speak. Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, in complete union with nature, but not conscious that they're in union with nature. And then we had to go to that point of being ego-centered, where we chose the knowledge and the power of good and evil, and got kicked out of the garden and landed in Calcutta and Mexico City and Tokyo and Paris and New York City and LA and all those tumors that are on the mother. And before you know it, we were secular beings completely cut off from the living spirit and nature. So that's the ego consciousness. That's where mind, ego, personality, the sword of the mind, has cut us off and taken us into a secular, imperial, hierarchical social order dominated by the white male, the Aryan patriarchy as a collective whole of elitist power, would-be absolutists. So what we've got to do is break that pattern, that program that we're literally genetically programmed with, as well as mind programmed with, and return to the center
through harmony.
Through the harmony process. Okay, why harmony? Well, why did I pick harmony 40 years ago to work with as the principle? Because immediately I saw harm all around me. It was the Vietnam War. Guys were coming back, halfway awake people, thinking people, realizing it was all a lie and that we were murdering innocent people for profit for very few white men. A lot of people were very angry, were ready to blow up post offices and stuff because of the lie and of what they'd been forced to do in the name of something good, like freedom and democracy. All the lies that the white men have been using for years to enslave people. And so I said, well, if there's so much harm, is there a neutralizing, because I'd studied, by then I had studied a little bit of Hermes and the 7 principles of Hermes about how to take any energy field and find its opposite and balance it off. So I went looking for the opposite of harm and discovered harmony. And the more that I discovered harmony, the more I expanded in the experience and consciousness of harmony to realize that eventually it was a universal, archetypal principle, meaning one of the primary, elemental, necessary seed roots of creation of the whole universe. So there's all these parts and particles necessary to create the whole. First, there's the whole. And then the whole, in order to understand itself and experience itself, has to separate itself and polarize itself. This creates the illusion of duality. Harmony is the movement back toward union again and toward a new unified field.
Yes.
So this energy of harmony is what you apply to the disintegration
Yes.
of harm.
Yes.
And it's real. It's a field of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And we can invoke it consciously. We can work with it consciously. We can co-create it with it consciously. And we can transform harm with it consciously. So that's where I began with the universal principle of harmony. Within a few months, I discovered that along with it comes 3 more universal principles, naturally. So that when I opened the door to harmony, along came with it integrity, which is wholeness, a new unified field of energy in full consciousness. And the responsibility of that and the honesty of that. That's integrity. And then liberation is the experience that we have when we work with these principles, and liberation is what the whole universe is conceived for, because God chooses to liberate itself. Now, why is it even necessary for God to liberate itself? Because it separates itself and puts itself into all these multiplicity of material forms. And so in order to unify itself again, it's got to break itself out of those forms and bring all of its energy back into the center again. In order to have this experience of integrity or oneness. This is a liberating experience. This is what liberates the creative spirit. This is what liberates the whole universe and moves it back into total union again, or communion. So when you choose harmony, with it you get integrity, liberation, and peace through Renascence. These are the 4 universal principles that I work with, and they are existential, they are experiential, and they are available for everyone who chooses to work with them.
You said peace through Renascence.
Yes.
Can we say peace is harmony, through is integration, Renascence is liberation?
Peace is the field of energy that we invoke and use to neutralize and transform war, conflict, competition, polarity, separation, disintegration. It's the physical manifestation and expression of the harmonic principle which is universal. Thru is the transitional period as one form transits and transforms itself into a new state of being, from war to peace. So peace through, and through is ultraviolet. It's the color tone of the void, of space, of the vacuum. The color of peace is dynamic. It's dynamic, evergreen peace. The transition zone is the ultraviolet, fire, flame, light. Renaissance is new birth, spiritual new birth. Its color tone is Renaissance rose, which is an electric color that is spiritual. We can't see it with the naked eye. We can experience it with consciousness, and eventually that experience in consciousness expands the perceptive ability so that we can see the rose color shining down through the blue sky, and we can experience it as the eighth color of the rainbow. So peace through Renaissance is the neutralization and transformation of war, the static state of disintegration, and death. Because Renaissance, spiritual new birth, constantly transforms death, which is an illusion. There is no death. There's only constant new birth. And the transition from old forms into new forms.
Into what?
Into whatever we individually imagine that we would choose to co-create instead of what we were suffering under before.
That's where we come into the picture, the humans.
Yes.
So return us to the question again. Harmony, integration, liberation. I understand it is, now we'll be talking words, talking about these words. There is an experience.
Yes.
Can we go through a little bit about the experience in images, in symbols? What do you see when you harmony?
Well, for example, let's take sound. Harmony is all parts of a unified field that have separated and atomized themselves into all the parts and particles that could possibly be available in that field of energy. And then the movement of all those parts and parts, the return toward the center and the movement to the center again, where they reunite in a new critical mass in order to create a potential for a new unified field. This is the experience of it physically and metaphysically, because you take any energy system, let's say a chorus of people. Let's say you take 9 people, and you put them together, and you have each one of those 9 people chant or a tone.
Yeah.
Which is a frequency, it's a vibration. So let's say it's C. Let's say that you just do do, re, mi, fa. Let's say 8 people. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And you work these 8 different tones together in such a way that you begin to experience this other field of energy that has a very real existential reality and existence. And you realize that these parts and all the parts are working together to create something greater than the sum of those parts, a gestalt, a new whole field of energy that becomes an energy generator. Because harmony generates energy abundance. Because all the parts and particles that come together to generate this new harmonic accordance, this new energetic field is created that has an extra energy potential in it that isn't there when all those parts are broken down into separation. Something else is created, and that means there's new energy, new information, and therefore new potential for creativity and transformation.
So if you have a pure, straight line of energy,
yes,
going spiraling forward in space-time,
yes,
like the id, for example, or
Si.
the kundalini energy, which
Si.
may be the same.
Si.
We can choose to start to play life with this energy through bringing that energy field out in undertones and overtones that works in its polarities
yes,
to each other,
yes,
and stay in the process and play with harmony,
yes,
with that energy that is available for us.
yes,
And what comes out from that play is a growth of consciousness itself, from that energy field that now has been traveling in time, so it has a potential for growth.
The consciousness comes from the experience of it and the full awareness that I'm co-creating with it. That creates the consciousness, which then goes into the process itself. So harmony itself becomes conscious of itself through me or you as conscious individual part of the whole.
Attention.
See. Lucas and I had this conversation yesterday, and we're trying to do this English-Spanish. It was a little difficult, but he asked me, he approached me, I heard him kind of ask me, that's the way I interpret it, what was harmony? ¿Qué es armonía?
Ah, yeah? Wow. Beautiful.
And I said, well, the rainbow. Look at the rainbow. The rainbow is 7 colores. 7 colors en uno, which he immediately got. He immediately understood it. And so, armonía is 7 diferentes colores en uno, in union. And he understood. So now there's a visual. You asked me about a physical image.
Yeah.
A rainbow is a perfect natural expression of a harmonic chord. You have 7 or more frequencies, individual, unique frequencies vibrating at their own integrated frequencies.
Yeah.
Red, you know what I'm talking about. Red through each color.
Yeah.
Yet they're all in one band, vibrating together in union. In fact, if you could see every rainbow, it would be a 360-degree spiraling circle, spiraling into itself and out of itself.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful part. If I can continue this from, if you talk about harmony, integration, liberation, most people, when they hear you say rainbow, they see a rainbow in front of them, which is the beginning of working with harmony with these 7 colors. If you continue the process into integration, we can see, or not see, but as you said, there is a 360 degrees rainbow. It's actually a rain circle. So when we understand the other side of the rainbow becomes a circle, and when we understand that a circle is just something that goes around and around and comes back to the same space, we can also understand that as the life spirals forward or backward or any direction, there's a movement in that. So then we go towards liberation in that spiraling movement. So we start with harmony, integration, liberation as a metaphor that we're just talking about.
They're more than metaphors. They're experiences. That's the beauty of them. They're both metaphors for experiences for other people, but they're expressions of experience.
Yeah.
When I experience the harmonic field of energy itself, my mind then creates this in English as the word harmony, or the picture rainbow, or the sound of a chorus singing a harmonic chord. You asked me for physical ways. These are some right there. Or, I'll tell you, one of the greatest harmonies I've ever experienced in my life is working together in live theater. An ensemble of, say, 25 to 30 people working together, counting technicians and builders and every costume makers, everybody, lighting technicians, all working together in full agreement toward the same creative end for other people. There's no feeling of harmony like that. Another experience of it is playing basketball, or any team sport where you're truly cooperating together and there's not one superstar or 2 or 3 hot dogs trying to compete against each other. But when you've got a true team effort working together, that's harmony.
Where all parts working towards one principle, where all energy goes into that one principle.
They don't even have to be conscious of the principle.
Yeah.
All they have to be conscious of is that they're working together for the same end.
Or
in agreement.
Each part does its work it's supposed to do.
That's it exactly, Michael. With full consciousness of this greater picture and a more satisfying end than any one of those little works or jobs could have done.
Yeah. And
even the star of the play, so to speak.
Yeah. And the beauty is, okay, let's say we go through the process of harmony, integration, liberation.
Yes.
What now? Does it end? No. It continues. So, after that liberation, there's a new set of harmony to work with that is available for us now. Through integration, a new liberation.
It's a continual process and movement and spiraling forward and upward and simultaneously downward and outward.
That's why enlightenment, for example, enlightenment is not the end. It's really more just the beginning.
Exactly.
To understand working with these principles.
Exactly.
For example, and more.
And to be enlightened means you're awake.
Yeah.
It's real simple. Buddha was called the awakened one. And he's the primary human example of what it is to be enlightened. The enlightened Buddha he called himself the awakened one. So if you're awake, you're enlightened. If you're conscious in the moment, that you are conscious in the moment and are participating with that moment and are actually a co-creator of it, you're enlightened.
Conscious about being conscious.
Yes. But that's the beginning of a whole new universe. That's a beginning, not an end. White folks think it's an end. Boy, if I could get enlightened, I'd be done. I'd be finished. I could give up this pain and suffering. No. The pain and suffering is to get us to enlightenment. The joy comes after we're enlightenment, and we can use the enlightenment to experience peace through Renascence. Harmony, integrity, liberation, and even more, because there's more after that. I'm just talking about these principles. You see,
this is more
harmony is a path for me. I chose a path. That path is harmony. And for me, it's a universal, archetypal creative principle that is one of the primary seed roots and building blocks of this whole universe. It's the great harmony. So I chose that path. However, what I discovered from observing that path and other paths that other people chose is that there are countless paths. There are countless choices of paths. For human beings, there's at least 7 billion paths. However, all paths end in the same place. All paths take us to the Tao, the way, the one way of universal truth. There's only one possible absolute truth, and this is God. God is truth. Gandhi said God is truth. Jesus Christ told the Samaritan woman at the well of the ancestors that God is the spirit of truth. So if God is truth, and if this is what sets me free, then this is beyond harmony, integrity, liberation, and peace through Renascence. This is the ultimate experience of ultimate reality. God, love, truth, freedom. And we have choice of what paths to take to get to the ultimate truth and the ultimate experience of ultimate reality. And this is available for every human being who chooses to wake up and choose and imagine what that path is for him or her, and then to stay with it, to have the integrity to be one with that choice until it either doesn't work, and clearly doesn't work, or until you break through into the experience of it working on its own, and then there's no more struggle. Then the hard work and the resistance and the pain and all that and the self-discipline, they go away. And then the flow begins. And the whole experience happens with effortless simplicity in full consciousness, as long as I remain conscious of it and am consciously invoking it constantly. Then that's my reality. At that point, that's my reality. I've now become a co-creator of harmony instead of harm, of integrity instead of disintegration, of liberation, self-liberation, instead of bondage and slavery to artificial realities. And this is available. I've experienced this now. I'm either completely insane, folks, and I'm open to the possibility and probability I'm nuts. However, if I'm not, if what I'm saying is correct for everyone, and if this is ultimately where we're going, then let's get going. Why don't we choose this? If it is truly a matter of choice and breathing it, then let's choose to breathe it. Let's first give it in our out-breath, and then receive it in our in-breath. So if I truly want harmony, I give harmony in my out-breath, and I breathe in harmony in my in-breath until I experience harmony, and now it's real for me. Oh, now I have choice. I can choose harm. I can try to go back to that ego-centered reality, which is totally artificial and creating all the problems for everybody. Or I can remain centered and experience harmony. Now, if gradually 4 billion people eventually came to this realization and existential reality and chose to create this as their lifestyle, then we would have critical mass, and all of humankind would quantum leap into heaven on earth. We would experience the earth as being the paradise that it was before we came. And it would return to being paradise because that's the nature of the whole earth and of nature itself, is to be in harmonic balance at all times. Only the fear mind separates me from that. When I realize that harmony neutralizes and transforms fear, then fear goes away. There is no more fear. And Don Juan's first enemy on the path is conquered, and it never comes back to challenge you again. Don Juan said of the 4 enemies on the path, fear was the first, but it was the one that never came back to continually challenge you. The other 3, clarity or enlightenment, power, and entropy, the winding down of the universe, old age and death, these are with us always, and a constant struggle to keep them neutralized and transformed. The fear goes away as soon as we begin this process of breathing the alternative to it into us, because fear is an illusion. It doesn't exist. It's something created by the shadow mind in the separation, in the original separation of the mind itself into the schizoid state.
So we can maybe ask our ego mind sometimes every day to please be in service in the process of going into the imaginal towards truth, and see what we experience.
I agree with that, Michael. My experience is that the ego is very important. It's part of creation. It's given to human beings. We have an I am. However, because it doesn't really understand that it's ultimately an illusion in the mind, it creates fear and anxiety and terror out of itself. And then because it's terrified of its own fear and anxiety, it pushes it into the unconscious and then unconsciously projects it out on other people and other situations and says that it's them instead of me or us. So every time I put that finger out there and point it at somebody and shake it at them critically, I'm ignoring 3 fingers pointing directly back at me.
Just like a little 3 or 4 year old kid.
Or a chronic adolescent, 13 to 15-year-old rebellious adolescent. The terrible 2s and 13 to 15, these are difficult initiation times. It's leaving something behind. It's the death of something and the movement into something new, a new dimension of maturity and experience.
So there's a resistance from going from that known reality to something new?
Almost always. And it's natural, and it's okay. Particularly when we understand that it's going to be there. As soon as I choose to move in a new direction, if I realize there's going to be resistance to that choice and movement, then I can integrate that in as just more energy to help in the process.
Because it's scary for the mind to go towards the unknown.
It terrifies the mind because it's completely built on the known, the memories of the past.
And to being in security.
Yeah, and being insecure,
which is insecure,
is an expression of its insecurity.
Yes.
Of its need to be secure is an expression of its insecurity. So, mind worships fear. The God fear created mind. Mind then created ego. I am, number 1. And then ego puts on a mask, a persona, and interacts with the external empire in order to get power and to get higher in the social order. This is all an illusion. This is all a misuse of human creative energy. We're supposed to use our creative human energy for self-liberation and eventually to experience being free. And until everyone on this planet is free, nobody is, because we're all one. ultimately every human being is part of a whole body, the human body of all humankind. We're all one human family, folks.
All billions electrons
7 billion.
around the nuclear is part of the whole.
Yes. So until everyone in the body politic is free, nobody's free. Every individual has the responsibility to free himself or herself. We are only Savior, Messiah, Master. Buddha said that. Ultimately, Jesus Christ said it too. The kingdom of heaven does not come in such a way as to be seen. The kingdom of heaven is within you. You are the genius. You are the Buddha Christ. But until you realize this inside of yourself, in the center of your being, and have this experience in the center of your being, it's not real and true for you. So here's the work. To turn inward and experience this very powerful experience of Buddha Christ within you. And then once you are centered in this experience, and there's no doubt possible that this is who you truly are, then you bring this out and you give this away in service through the ego to those who ask and are in genuine need for that energy. I don't know what else to do as a human being.
No need but that choose to be without energy.
Yes. Well, I can choose to need something, or I can choose to create it. I choose to create what my mind says I need. I just said I don't need it, I choose it.
Yeah.
So I don't need a drink of water, I choose to get a drink of water now. As long as I say I need, then I create this reality in my mind, this tape, this program in my mind that makes me needy. So no matter how much I have, I always need more. So it's just a matter of changing perspective of one's consciousness. We must change our consciousness first if we want to change our behavior. And the only way to change consciousness is to turn inward and see yourself in the action of behaving that way and of realizing you're choosing to behave this way. Now you've got choice to behave another way and to think another way. It's like quitting smoking cigarettes. Until you actually put out that last cigarette in the ashtray and don't ever smoke again, you haven't quit smoking. You're pretending, you're lying to yourself about quitting smoking, but you haven't quit smoking, and you're not going to quit smoking as long as you say, I'm going to quit smoking someday.
And it's not a question about quitting or quit. It's just a question about not doing it in this very breath.
By doing something else that's better.
Yeah.
By choosing to do something else with that energy.
You never quit anything. You just do something else.
Yeah.
In every moment.
That's it.
Which is one moment.
You simply move your energy to a more holistic state of being for you in this moment. This is responsibility, the ability to respond to this living moment and whatever it needs and demands.
That's for me being serious. Taking life seriously.
Yes.
It's being responsible.
Because that's part of the work. And the work is serious business. It's serious work. However, it's liberating work, so it ain't all that absolutely serious because there's a lot of humor in it.
I include humor in seriousness.
Of course.
I want to count how many times I say I each day in every sentence.
Good. Again, for those who understand, that are listening, that understand neuro-linguistic programming.
I'm not sure I'm going to choose it though, right now, but...
One of the first rules of neuro-linguistic programming, one of the first processes that you notice is listening to yourself. Listening to every word that comes out of your mouth. Most of us don't listen to what we say, and if we don't listen to what we say, we're not going to listen to what anybody else says, I guarantee you that. So begin to listen to every word that comes out of your mouth. When you hear yourself say, I need, about 50 times a day, you can get to the point that you're conscious, and every time you say, I need, stop yourself and say, I retract that. I choose. Replace I need with I choose, and watch your life transform.
Because it is a very important aspect in your work of integration. That your words are in synchronicity, going towards the same principle into the center with your feelings and actions and behavior. So if your words are saying, meaning something else than you feel, there's no integration in that process.
There's a split. Then white man speaks with a forked tongue. We have the double think, double speak of Big Brother. War is peace. Freedom is slavery.
So by listening what we truly say, we stop being honest with ourselves.
By listening to what we say, first of all, we stop talking a whole bunch. I'd say at least 40% of what we say, we just don't say anymore. At least that much. Probably more. That's the first benefit of it.
It's like my friend Spirkom says, and also Krishnamurti, silence is wisdom, the end of the suffering.
When the mouth closes, the ears and mind open. When the mouth opens, the mind and ears close. And we have choice. We can listen, we can be receptive, we can receive new information, new experiences, and with it new understanding, new information, new wisdom. And therefore we keep on growing. Or we can close down the mind, we can open the mouth and start spouting our belief systems, constantly telling our story over and over again to anyone who will listen, and keeping ourselves stuck in the behavior that causes us to tell the sad story to begin with. Okay. Well, this to me seems a little bit silly and ridiculous, if not outright insane. But then I may be the mad one. I am mad. I don't think I'm insane. I think my madness is a vaccination against my insanity. But I may be wrong. I may be bonkers.
Let's be prudent at this time.
I'm hungry.
My friend.
Okay. Prudence knows when and where to stop and therefore keeps on growing. Prudence.
Prudence.